There is one spot on a woman's body that reveals exactly what she is feeling, not what she is saying, not what she is performing, what she is actually feeling. And the moment she lets you into that space, her mind has already made a decision about you, one she may not even be conscious of yet. Stay with me, because what I am about to walk you through will permanently change how you read every interaction you have with a woman from this point forward. This is not about tricks. It is not about lines or techniques you memorize from a list. What we are going into today is something far more fundamental, the silent language that runs beneath every interaction, the one happening right now, in every conversation you are having, that most men are completely blind to, not because they are incapable of seeing it, but because nobody ever showed them where to look. Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a woman and thought, I think she liked me, but I am genuinely not sure? Or the opposite, she was perfectly polite, but something felt slightly off and you could not name it. That confusion is not a failure of effort. It is a failure of awareness. The signals were there the entire time. You just did not have the framework to read them. And once you do, once this clicks, you will never walk away from an interaction uncertain again. Here is the truth that almost nobody says out loud. Attraction is rarely spoken directly, but it is always expressed physically, and not in the obvious dramatic ways you might be picturing. It is subtle. It is instinctive. It is happening below the level of conscious thought. A woman's body is constantly responding to how she feels in your presence, and those responses are far more honest than anything she could ever say out loud. What we are exploring today is that hidden layer, the one that separates men who spend their entire lives guessing from men who simply understand. When a woman allows certain types of touch, she is not just being polite or going along with a social situation. Her nervous system is making real-time decisions. It is running an internal evaluation. Do I feel safe with him? Does his presence calm me or create tension? Do I trust what I feel when he is near? And the answers to those questions do not come out in words. They come out instantly, physically, through her body. This is why two men can do the exact same thing: reach for her hand, touch her shoulder, stand slightly closer, and get completely opposite reactions. One feels welcome, even natural. The other feels uncomfortable, even threatening. The difference is not the action. It is the emotional experience behind it. And that is where most men go wrong. They study what to do. They never learn what she feels. Let me put you in a real moment so this lands properly. Picture yourself sitting next to a woman at a quiet bar in Manhattan. The conversation is easy, a little playful. The energy is good. At some point, you lightly touch her arm while making a point. Nothing dramatic, just casual contact. Now here is where everything matters. Not the touch itself. What happens immediately after? Does she lean in, even slightly? Does the conversation continue without her breaking the flow? Does her body stay open and relaxed? Or does she stiffen just a fraction? Does her posture shift? Does she quietly create a little more distance between you? Most men never notice this moment. They are already thinking about what to say next. But this moment is everything, because her reaction is not calculated. It is instinctive, and instinct does not lie. What is happening beneath that moment is rooted in both psychology and biology. Research has shown that human beings can identify emotions, affection, tension, dominance, discomfort through physical contact alone, without a single word being spoken. And women in particular are extraordinarily attuned to this. A woman's nervous system is constantly scanning for emotional safety, not consciously. It just happens automatically, the way breathing happens. So when you touch her, she is not only registering the physical sensation, she is reading your energy, your confidence, your emotional state. Whether you are grounded or anxious, present or performing. If you are tense, uncertain, or trying too hard, she feels that. If you are calm, unhurried, and genuinely present, she feels that too. This is why attraction cannot be faked. It is not perceived through the eyes. It is felt through the body. Now I want to take you through the emotional zones, because this is where things become very clear, very fast. Think of a woman's body not simply as physical space, but as layers of trust. Each area represents a different level of emotional access. And as you move from one level to the next, what you are actually doing is moving deeper into her sense of comfort, safety, and genuine connection with you. The first level, the arms and shoulders, is where almost every interaction begins. A light touch on the arm, a casual brush of the shoulder. These are socially acceptable, low-stakes gestures. If she allows them, it does not necessarily mean she is attracted. It means she is comfortable enough not to pull away. But even here, there is information available if you know how to read it. Is her posture open or subtly closed off? Is her body angled toward you or slightly away? Does she hold eye contact or does she disengage? These are micro signals, small, easy to miss, but they matter more than anything you could say at this stage. Because right now she is not deciding if she wants you. She is deciding if she feels okay around you. And that foundation, that basic sense of safety is what everything else is built on. Moving slightly deeper, we reach the hands and wrists. And this is where the shift begins to become real. Holding someone's hand is not just physical contact. It is symbolic. It represents presence, connection, a willingness to share a moment without distance. When a woman allows you to hold her hand even briefly, she is granting a degree of emotional access, not just physical proximity. But the wrist is where it gets particularly telling. The wrist is sensitive, vulnerable. It is not a place people casually allow others to touch unless a real degree of comfort has already been established. If she stays relaxed when you make contact there, if she does not pull back, if she even subtly responds, her guard is beginning to lower. Not completely, but noticeably. And this is the moment where I want you to remember something important. This is not about moving quickly from one level to the next. It is about whether she is inviting you forward. Because when it is right, it does not feel like progression. It feels like flow, a natural rhythm. And when you are in sync with that rhythm, nothing feels forced. Everything feels effortless. Now let us go somewhere that most men completely misread. The waist and lower back, what I call the instinctive test zone. Here is why this area matters so much. When you place your hand lightly on her lower back, guiding her through a doorway, standing close while navigating a crowd, this is one of the first moments where she cannot fully see your movement. Her reaction is almost entirely subconscious. She does not have time to analyze it. She simply feels it. And in that split second, her body answers one question. Do I feel safe with this person being this close without full visibility or control? That is a profound psychological moment. If she stiffens, shifts away, or quickly repositions herself, that is not harsh rejection. It is information. Her nervous system is communicating not yet, or something is not aligned. But if she stays relaxed, if her body does not resist your proximity, if she even leans slightly toward you, that is trust forming at a deeper level than anything that came before it. And I want to be precise about something here because it matters enormously. This is not about dominance. It is not about asserting control or taking up space aggressively. It is about how your presence feels when it enters her space. A man who is grounded, calm, and emotionally present can make that gesture and it feels natural, even comforting. A man who is uncertain, trying to impress, or seeking approval can make the exact same gesture and it feels invasive. Same action, completely different emotional impact. And women feel that difference instantly and without effort. Let me give you a scenario that makes this undeniable. A woman once described 2 dates she had gone on. The first man was impressive on paper, confident presentation, well-dressed, saying all the right things. But when he placed his hand on her lower back walking into a restaurant, she felt a subtle tension she could not logically explain. Her body simply did not relax. The second man was less performative, less polished. But when he made the same gesture, her body stayed soft. She felt completely at ease. And later she described it this way: with one, I felt handled. With the other, I felt safe. That is the entire lesson in 2 sentences. Now we move into sacred territory, the neck and the face. Biologically, the neck is one of the most vulnerable areas of the human body. It guards vital pathways, the pulse, the breath, everything essential. So when someone allows touch there, it is not casual. It is deeply instinctual trust made physical. And the face is identity. It is how we present ourselves to the world. It is where emotion is most visible and most carefully protected. When a woman allows you to touch her face, to brush something away, to hold her gently there, you are no longer in a casual interaction. You are in genuine emotional proximity. But here is the nuance that separates understanding from misunderstanding. It is not just whether the touch happens. It is how she receives it. Does she soften? Does her eye contact deepen? Does she pause as if time briefly slows down? Or does she pull back even subtly? Because her body will give you the truth before her words ever form. Every level we move through is not really about increasing physical contact. It is about increasing emotional permission. And that permission cannot be forced. It cannot be rushed or manufactured through the right sequence of moves. It has to be felt by her, genuinely, organically, in real time. And here is the thing I want you to really sit with. A woman does not open up like this because of what you do. She opens up because of how she feels around you. That is why some men can follow every rule they have ever read and still feel like nothing works, while others move through these levels naturally, without effort or strategy, because they have learned to simply be present. It is not technique. It is not tactics. It is presence. Now we arrive at the final level, the one that quietly tells you everything, the one most men overlook entirely because it seems too subtle to matter. It is the hair. I know that might not sound as significant as everything we have built toward, but that reaction, that instinct to dismiss it, is exactly why most men miss what it actually reveals. Hair is not just physical. For most women, it is emotional and deeply personal. It is tied to identity, to femininity, to self-expression. It is something they adjust when nervous, play with when flirting, fix when they want to feel more composed. It is constantly being managed and protected. So when a woman allows someone else into that space, it is not random. It is revealing. But the nuance here matters more than anywhere else. It is not about you reaching for her hair. It is about her allowing it. And more importantly, how she responds in that instant. Because this is not a conscious decision she is making. This is her nervous system communicating without her permission. If your hand moves naturally, maybe brushing a strand away. Maybe your fingers lightly passing through and she leans into it. If her head tilts slightly without thought. If her eyes soften or close for just a brief second. If a small unfiltered smile appears without effort. That is not performance. That is not politeness. That is a full-body response. That is emotional safety and physical comfort aligning at the exact same moment. And when those two things align, her guard drops. Not because she decided to drop it, because she could not hold it anymore. A woman once described a moment on a quiet evening walk. No grand setup, no dramatic flirting. Just conversation, laughter, and a feeling of ease. At one point, a strand of her hair fell across her face. The man she was with gently moved it aside. And what she remembered was not the action. It was how it felt. She said it was natural, like he was already close to me before he even touched me. That is what you are trying to understand, not how to execute something, how to create the kind of presence where moments like that happen without anyone planning them. Here is the deeper psychological layer beneath all of this. When a woman responds positively to that level of touch, it is because multiple systems in her brain have aligned simultaneously. Her emotional brain feels safe. Her instinctive brain detects no threat. Her relational mind senses genuine connection. And her body follows all of it. This is why women often say, I do not know why, I just felt comfortable with him. That I do not know why is not confusion. It is subconscious clarity. It is everything we have been talking about, experienced from the inside. So let me bring this back to something practical. Because understanding this is powerful, but applying it is what actually changes your experiences. Stop focusing on outcomes. Stop asking yourself, what do I do next, or how do I get her to respond differently? Replace those questions with one single question. How does she feel in my presence right now? If the answer is relaxed, open, at ease, you are already moving in the right direction. If the answer is tense, uncertain, or distant, no technique in existence will override that. And this is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest advantage. Pay attention. Not in an obsessive, hyper-analytical way, but in a grounded, present, aware way. Let moments breathe. Allow silence when it appears naturally. Notice the small shifts, because attraction does not live in the loud and obvious. It lives in the quiet spaces between words and actions. And finally, what if the goal was never to win her over? What if instead, the goal was simply to create a space where she naturally wants to move closer? What if instead of chasing signals, you became someone who understands them and responds in a way that feels right, not rehearsed? That is where real connection begins. And that is what almost nobody ever learns. Touch is not about control. It is not strategy. It is a conversation happening without words. Every gesture, every reaction, every quiet shift in posture is part of that conversation, telling a story about trust, safety, and whether two people are truly in sync. Learn to listen to that story, and everything changes.